Hey, this is Joe Sullivan. If you want to learn how to use your small axe to build an empire, you should be listening to the Small Axe podcast with my good friend Nico.
Hey guys, it's your boy Nico here from the Small Axe Podcast. I want to show you how to use your small axe to build a lasting empire. You see, not everybody begins their investing career with millions of dollars, a huge network of investors, or the knowledge necessary to become successful in this space, and that's okay. What I focus on here on this podcast is helping you hone your skills, sharpen your tools to become the best investor that you can be. Now, I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy this show. If you have any questions or you want to reach out to me or the guest, feel free to do so. Love you guys. Okay, Small Axe community, it is your boy Nico, and I am back, and I'm hanging out today with my man Joe Sullivan. Now, I never had him on this show, and I'm really excited to get him on. Why? Not only has he left his W-2, not only has he joined an amazing team, but he's also known as Joey DTS. So, Joe, welcome to the show, my friend.
Nico, what's going on, man? Yeah, it's been definitely excited to be here. And you mentioned Joey DTS. I actually finished my website about a month ago, and it's joeydts.com. So it's good timing on bringing that up.
Cool, man. Yeah, I love it. I love the name, and I love what you have been able to accomplish going DTS in your own fashion. You've been doing things a little differently and have had a lot of success. So I'm excited to get to talk about that. I'm excited to get to know a little bit more about you and your journey. And before we get there, why don't you share, because I already know you, but why don't you share part of your journey with the listeners so we can kind of catch up to learn about how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, I'm happy to. It kind of started, my real estate journey at least started about 4 years ago. I did it because I was frankly, running from a W-2 job that I had. I worked the same position for 12 years, same company right out of school. And worked my way up to a middle upper level management, kind of a director role. And started seeing, like, a lot of people, seeing people being laid off around me, and just had a lot of felt very insecure. Good salary, but insecure in the future with the company, and I just did not like the idea of somebody else making calling the shots for my life, so to speak. So it started off with just trying to come up with different alternative sources of income, like kind of a side gig, side income. So started investing in smaller properties in my backyard nearby. I live in Kansas City. So started investing in duplexes, and acquired just over 20 units in about a little over a year. So pretty fast. It's like 10 properties in a year and a half or so. And quickly realized that I didn't know what I was doing. and we were frankly not making really any money. They weren't really cash flowing. I was doing a lot of the work, mowing the lawn, doing a lot of silly things that you just shouldn't do. So what I did was I decided I wanted to stay in real estate in some aspect, and started just over consuming podcasts and books and just whatever I get my hands on, to try to learn a better, more efficient way. I did know that I don't know the exact stat, but 90% or so of millionaires own real estate. So I knew I wanted to be in real estate. Just needed to figure out what asset class and what I was going to do, frankly. So did a lot of research, took some time, landed on, I did want to stay in, rentals. So I wanted to stay in rentals, but I wanted to do it at scale, and knew I wanted to work with teams. So I landed on multifamily. So it was going to be between storage and multifamily. Excuse me. Landed on multifamily, leaned in more to multifamily, got more educated on it, and then finally decided that I needed to really jump in head first. I joined a education group, Jake and Gino, Nico and I. That's where you and I met. So joined that in February of 2020. So almost 3 years ago now. Took me, so started there, met a lot of great people, got educated obviously in the space. Took me almost a year. Got my first, bigger deal with a few partners I met through the group. And then from there, did the next one a few months later. And then, the kind of the snowball effect started to take place. And, fast forward, I guess it'd be 2 years after I did the first deal, got about 1,300 units, and really kind of off to the races now.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's the short story of how I went from basically zero to where I'm at today.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So I didn't know the part that you had done like a year and a half of duplexes. You did 10 of them. That's a lot, man. And you were working full time, and you had kids at that point too. And that's another topic that we should be discussing, is that, throughout this time period when you start feeling pressure from work, if it was just a solo guy, if it was just you, right, I'm sure you probably wouldn't have felt the same pressure to have security. But when you have a family at stake, right, that's when the stakes get high. And it's impressive what you've been able to accomplish, and think through and work through in your journey. So I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that first year, right? Because it took me a year as well to get my first property, and we're so eager and we're so like excited, right? But I think that a year is a good amount of time. Can you talk about your process for that year?
Yeah. So the first year at Jake and Gino, like first year educating, so that was a COVID year. That was when, I joined, and then like a month later, they announced that the world was shutting down. So it actually ended up being the perfect timing for me, because my job became very remote, wasn't traveling. So I was able to just dive in and dive into the education. I mean, the education their program has is awesome. So I leaned in harder to that as well as networking. So just getting on, I mean, it was all virtual. It was all Zoom. So I was doing it from my basement, and I was networking with as many people as I could, and just learning I was a sponge, frankly. And then once they, I'm in the Midwest, so I'm in Kansas City. So once they started to open the doors a little bit till you could go out, which wasn't too long, I was the first one out doing property tours. There weren't a lot of people doing them. But I was out doing property tours. But yeah, what really benefited me the most was just getting educated as much as possible, and then networking, and trying to get in that room, surrounding myself with people who've already done what I want to do, and just I wanted to be the dumbest person in the room.
Awesome, man. I feel it. It's the only way to push forward faster, right? Now,
yeah.
What was your first deal like? Well, let me backtrack. Your first multifamily deal, and let me backtrack one more step. Did you sell those duplexes, or do you still have them?
No, I still have the duplexes, and actually, we have a sixplex too. So we have about 20 units on our own. I have one partner on half those. So a friend of mine that's kind of got started with me. Great guy. He wanted to stay in his his profession, and I wanted to move this way. So, but yeah, we still own them, which is great. They're we're paying down the mortgage, so building equity, and now they're starting to cash flow a little bit after 4 years, but starting to cash flow a little bit. So one of my mentors, and Gino Barbero, he says he regrets us ever selling anything, and I kind of take that to heart. And there's a reason that people who are that successful say things like that. So unless it's a real dog, I don't plan on selling as much as I can.
Awesome. And are you still mowing the lawns?
I stopped doing that, and you know what? I have this burn. You can't really see it here, but I've got this burn on my thumb to prove. It was kind of it was that moment where I knew I had to do something different. It was Friday night, and I was mowing the lawn in one of the duplexes, and I burned my thumb on the carburetor. I remember driving home in the truck, sweating. It was the middle of the summer, you know, putting my shirt on my hand because it was bleeding, and
Mm,
just remember like I got to do something different. So that was that like aha moment. Like I'm doing something wrong here.
mm.
So no, I'm not mowing the lawns anymore.
Good,
Thank God.
good,
um,
good. All right,
but
walk us into your first multi deal.
yeah, let me walk you through it. So this was a 40, and we still own it. So 44 unit. Um, it's in Lawrence, Kansas, built in the late 60s. Um, it's a workforce housing property. We purchased it from a gentleman who had owned it for, I want to say, just under 25 years. He was a local business owner. He owned a jewelry shop, not much of a multifamily operator, but he had owned he bought a property 25 years ago. So it was direct to seller. Really got a hold of him through networking. Just friends of mine knew that I was trying to acquire multifamily properties, and I let as many people know as possible, and spread the word. And this gentleman said he was interested, so um, went and met him at his house. He gave me a box. I'm not exaggerating. A box of papers. It was all his financials for the last 3 years, I think, 3 to 5 years. He had nothing electronically, so it was all in a box. Um, it took us a little while to get the deal done because there was a little bit of, the bank had a little bit of a hard time financing it because of the way the money was tracked, the financials are tracked. But we got the deal done. That was in the middle of December of 2020. That deal to start the first 3 to 6 months was pretty tough, just because there was a lot of delinquency. The way they were operating it was, they were taking a lot of cash payments, just doing a lot of things you shouldn't be doing. And once we cleaned up the mess a bit, started cash flowing great. And I think it was either 16 or 18 months. We did a full cash out refi, refinanced into an agency loan. So we now have, I think we have about 6 months left of interest only. It's a 8-year loan, 30-year amortization, non-recourse now, which is fantastic. Before it was a recourse with a small community bank. And yeah, we don't have any intention of selling it now. I'd say the only reason we would sell it is if we were going to 1031 into a newer asset or something like that someday.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, man. Yeah, that's a great deal. Joseph spoke about that, and we talk about that deal a lot. And I really love and he actually did a presentation on it for us. I really love the way you guys set it up. I love the whole story behind it, that you found this guy willing to sell. He had a shoebox full of
Yeah.
financials, and you made it happen. And then you refinanced everything out. You're cash flowing now, and you're ready to rock and go on to the next one. And yet this is a long-term hold for you as well. Just, I guess I'm seeing now a bigger vision of what you look for. I love it, man.
Yeah. No, it definitely is a long-term hold. I used the cash that I got back to invest in another deal. So, that's the theme, and that's the goal, is to, refi and roll into the next deal, and just keep stacking assets. So that's the goal for my family.
Does your wife work, Joe?
No, well, she does. She helps. She runs our smaller portfolio that we own by herself. So that's what she does. And we have, like, I don't know if you know, we have 4 girls, so girl dad.
I know. I know. Well,
Yeah.
so that's the thing. I mean, there's so much going on. You're running a full-time business, right? Owning multifamily property, owning, rental real estate. This is a business. And I'm really happy to know that your wife is included in that, because, sometimes you feel like you're the lone wolf, right? Doing it all, but it's really helpful to have a partner that is, by your side and helping and enjoying it. Is she enjoying it?
Yeah, she enjoys it. Not as much as me. Um,
We obsess about it, right?
I am obsessed with it. She enjoys it. It's paying the bills now, and I have some freedom from, I was fairly miserable those last few years with my job. So she loves the fact that now I'm able to, make my own time, plan my own day, be where work where I want, when I want, uh, those kind of things.
Cool, man. It's important. And having four daughters, so do you guys both work at home, or do you have like an office somewhere?
Yeah, it's all at home. Yeah. Yeah.
Is it chaos some days?
Yes, when they don't have school, it's complete chaos. So I'll try to I go to one of the properties if they're all home for a few hours. I gotta get away, I just can't get anything done because they'll barge to the office door and want to talk to dad, and which I love it, but you can't get anything done.
I hear it, man. Four daughters. God bless, man. All right. So, did you then? When did you join Sharpline?
Started working with the Sharpline Group. It would have been middle of 2021. I think the first deal we did was in April of 2021. And so a year and a half ago. And we've done, I don't know how many, about a dozen deals since then together, syndicated deals. So, and I've sprinkled in a couple JV deals also,
Hmm.
which has been great because those are more of the generational, whole deals.
Yep. How so what was that process like? Did you just approach them? Did you have a deal, or how did the partnership begin?
Yeah. So it started with, well, first step was getting to know Marco. Marco is one of my partners on almost all my deals, and he was in that 44 unit, the first deal.
Hmm.
So just proof of concept for him to see that we could operate and successful asset, find a good deal, and then him and Chris were good friends and partners on a deal, and then Chris was actually my coach when I started with Jake and Gino. So he was my coach. So he got to spend some time with me on the coaching calls because I use mine up like that. I was ready to go. So and then I found a deal and I presented to him, not knowing that he would want to do the deal, but just, hey, what do you think of this deal? Just because you want mentors and coaches, helping you early on to make sure you're not making bad decisions. And he's like, this deal is great. How do you plan on doing it? And he just said, if you wanted to syndicate it, I would be, interested in doing it with you. So we did, fast forward, we did, and then we did another one, and, so on and so forth. And now we're self-managing. And, but yeah, it was all through the, networking through the community. Like, early on when I said I leaned in the networking, I meant it. It was all through that.
That's incredible, man.
Yeah.
And how were you finding these deals? Were they all broker deals? Were they some sprinkled with broker and some direct to seller?
We have the deals I've done is about 80% through brokers, and the other 20 is through direct to seller. The larger the deals have gotten, the less and less direct to seller has been feasible for us. The smaller deals, the 50 units or so and lower, seem to be kind of in that alley of direct to seller, and then the larger ones just have not been able to break that. I don't know. I think it might have to do more with the sophistication of the sellers when they're, the asset values become higher. They're just a little more sophisticated.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Now, when we say DTS, are you running campaigns, or are you, well, let me say, are you running campaigns? Are you going door knocking? Are you driving for dollars, or all of the above, or what are you doing?
I've done it all. The one thing I have not done is mailers. Um, and now we have, some people, for lack of a better word, some deal dogs working for us. So I have a few guys that are doing some direct to seller cold calling and texting for us now, and got a couple leads from them as well. I've done door knocking. I haven't had success with that. The best success has been cold calling or texting. Nothing else has even really touched it. And cold calling and texting is not really high success rate either. It's just you have to do a lot of it.
Right. And then exactly, I hear the same, and I've done the same as well. But you also found success in just networking with people. And that's a form of going direct to seller as well, because you found people that don't have a broker, right? And you're just kind of like in that first deal.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, networking is very organic, obviously. Um, I lean in really hard to it with brokers, with fellow real estate investors, with even with just business owners, that because a lot of business owners know people who own real estate. So just word of mouth, letting people know that we buy apartments and have the ability to buy almost any size really of complex in the Midwest.
Awesome. And tell us a little bit about that story where you were acquiring one property and then you found the neighboring owner, right? And didn't you just acquire both properties or something?
Yeah, we were under due diligence. So we were doing our inspection on a property, and the neighboring property. I mean, you could walk across the lawn essentially to the smaller one. It was like 100 units, and we were the one next to it was 24 units, and they were townhomes. And we were like, man, that'd be ideal because it's next door and we could run it together. And we found out we got a hold of somebody, one of the vendors there, I believe it was, knew who the owner was because he was there a lot. He was a local accountant and he was at the property a lot because he was mowing the grass and doing all the things I used to do. And he got a hold of him and he met us. We were there for 2 nights. He met us the next day. We met him and we didn't buy it right away, but fast forward a few months and we end up purchasing that one, kind of to run them together. So it's instead of 100 units, it was 124.
That's amazing, man. Really cool. And I just love stories like that. And that just goes to show that your eyes are always open. You're always searching. You're always looking for the next deal. I love that aspect as well. I feel that's where I get most energized is when I'm looking and hunting for a deal. Although I'm not boots on the ground, I just love the opportunity. If something hits my inbox, let's say, or if I get a lead from a wholesaler or just from somebody that, that I know down there in Florida, I get really excited. That's when my energy just really jumps up.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no stone unturned. I mean, I try to, any lead that comes across, I look at it. And sometimes I have a tracking system I use, and and oftentimes I'll just go back to old dead leads, and just be like, I wonder what happened there, and follow up with the broker, follow up with the seller, find out if they sold it, find out, because it might not be tomorrow, but it could be in 6 months that they changed their mind, or the deal fell out of contract, and they're just, the timing just needs to be right.
Yep. Awesome. I love it. All right. Joe, now you started a meetup as well, right? You do a virtual meetup?
Yeah, we do. It's a Kansas City multifamily and more virtual meetup. Yep.
How has that been? What do you think about it?
It was really good early on. Just getting networking, frankly, trying to add value. I would say candidly, probably haven't done a great job this last year on it. Just had other priorities. But yeah, I met a lot of great people through that.
I feel the same, man. So Joseph and I started ours, and it's really tough to keep that flame burning, man. We're so busy. We're actually operating properties, doing work, that it's really tough to take our time to, just set up a good meetup. And I know it's valuable for everybody to attend. I know it's valuable for us as well. It's just it's just become a little bit burdensome recently.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're very time consuming, extremely time consuming.
Mhm.
I don't have the answer. If you figure it out.
Cool, man. All right, Joe, let's talk a little bit about 2023.
All right.
This is still January right now. What are you thinking for this year? Do you have goals?
Yeah, I usually use, I'm very passionate about this. So I usually use the entire month of December, for the last 3 years. Um, Not the entire month, but I take the month of December to start the goal setting process. I get my wife involved. She's a big part of that, obviously, and my kids too. So I do a vision board for myself. I do a vision board. We do a vision board for the family. My wife also does a vision board. And then I have my goals. I have a goal tracker. My wife and I go on a 2 or 3 day, like, shut off completely, but shut off from people, and set our five. We do like a 5 year family vision every year, and it obviously resets, and we reflect on the year. And I'm just now finishing up. I have a couple, well, last minute things to finish, but I'm pretty much there on my goals for next year. And I take it very serious, because what I've seen the last few years is what I put on these goal sheets and these vision boards. 90% of it comes to reality, and that's like a superpower in itself. It's kind of crazy, actually, if you think about, like, if you just do these things, you can accomplish whatever you want.
Awesome, man. I started the vision board as well a couple of years ago, and I will certainly continue it. I love it. And I love, like, every once in a while, I'll just pop it up on my desktop and leave it there for a few days to remind me of where I should be focusing, what I should be working on. And it's inspirational for sure.
Yep. I do. Mine is right here next to my desk. And then I also write down my goals every morning. I have about 10, I think. I write them down every morning, and then at night I write three wins for the day, 3 things I'm grateful for, and then 3 things I'm going to accomplish tomorrow, no matter what, no exceptions. And
Awesome.
that's been a good. And sometimes they're small. Sometimes it's like I'm going to go for a 10-minute walk. Like, I mean, it can, but it's like I'm going to do it no matter what. Uh, and even if it's at midnight, I'm going to be doing this thing, because I'm not going to bed till it's done. And that's been pretty good, because most of those things they're tied into my goals. So it's like, it's just stacking habits, really.
Beautiful, man. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Cool. All right. So let's transition now, Mr. Joe. Our final
All
question here. This is a doozy, man. Watch out.
right.
Let's imagine it was 100 years from now. You have great grandchildren and they are super happy and they want to write a book about you to highlight your life. What would you want them to title this book? Or what characteristical traits would you like them to highlight about you in the book?
Man, it's a really good question. We just did, with my kids, we just did something similar to this. Not exactly, but we talked about, like, what words and sayings and phrases are important to our family. So I have a little bit of idea on what I would say. Um, some of the words that came out were, have grit. Like, this one rhymes. Have grit and never quit. That was a big one. We talked about that a lot. So I think it has something to do with, like, Sullivan's have grit and never quit, I think. But yeah, those characters, and just being generous, and being a go-giver to our church. Our church is really important to us. So um, being generous, and then having grit, and not quitting.
It's amazing, man. I love that. And it's funny you mentioned the word grit. This is a third time now. So I was thinking about the word grit. It's been in my mind this past week for some reason. And then I interviewed Tony Castronovo yesterday, and he's got his coaching company, Grit to Growth. And we
Wow.
spoke about that. And now today it's coming up again. And I think that it is such a determining factor for those people who succeed and who don't succeed, right? If you just stick with it. And again, I was listening to Grant Cardone, who I've listened to many times. I pulled up one of his audiobooks for fun, just to kind of revive myself a little bit. And he was speaking about failure being, it's impossible to fail unless you quit, right? So you're mentioning grit, right? We got to stick through it. We got to tough it out. and not quitting, right? And the only time failure happens is when we stop, right?
Yeah.
And that's the only failure. Otherwise, we never fail.
That's right. Yeah.
So love it, Joe. Hey, I was really happy to catch up with you. I really did learn a lot from you today. Really excited for our conversation, and just happy that we got to connect, man.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. No, it was great to do this. Yeah.
Cool. Let's get the listeners some form of contacting you.
You can email me at joe@joeydts.com.
Perfect. Hey, man, it's been a pleasure. You and I are going to keep talking. And if people want to reach out to you, hit him up at joeydts.com. All right. Hey, Small Axe community. I would like to say thank you for listening to another episode of my podcast, where we show you how to use your small axe to build a lasting empire. Now, if you liked what you heard, it would mean the world to me if you would subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and write a review. Also, if you want to get in touch with me, go to my website at smalaxecommunities.com. Book a call with me. And until the next episode, keep sharpening those axes.